Celebrating 48 years on the air, award-winning Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, the T word, the word farmers and just about everyone else is hearing a lot, tariffs. Plus, more words we're hearing a lot these days with a huge ripple effect, bird flu. In Southern Gardening, the sensational salvia, Rockin Purple and Unplugged Pink. And in our feature, the Bull-RIDIN Doctor, Back to the Past. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Ashmore.
And I'm Mike Russell. Great to have you with us again here on Farm Week. Again, a packed show, much happening, especially in trade, where late breaking and constantly changing tariffs are playing an even bigger role in the negotiation process. More on that in a minute.
In the meantime, some context. The president imposing sweeping tariffs on goods imported from the nation's top 3 trading partners.
As you may have seen in the president's address before Congress a few days ago, immigration and drug issues aside, he set the stage for the kind of back and forth on tariffs we're continuing to see. Peter Tubbs has more.
Farmers, the tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers starting on April 2nd. It may be a little bit of an adjustment period.
The Trump administration placed 25% tariffs on the country's #1 and #2 trading partners. Canada and Mexico, which represent a combined $1.5 trillion in cross-border trade, protested the tariffs, arguing that the new duties are unjustified. Analysts believe that the new tariffs are in violation of the USMCA agreement that was negotiated by the first Trump administration in 2018. The reaction from commodity groups was downbeat. The Iowa Soybean Association wrote, "Mexico and Canada are local and important markets for U.S. farmers. Heightening tensions with these 2 countries is counterproductive to the needs of Iowa soybean farmers, with markets already below the cost of production and going lower." The National Corn Growers Association stated, "We ask President Trump to quickly negotiate agreements with Mexico, Canada, and China that will benefit American farmers while addressing issues important to the United States." The U.S. Meat Export Federation commented, "USMEF is obviously disappointed that no agreements have yet been reached that would avoid or postpone tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada, as well as the tariff increase on goods from China." Canada announced retaliatory tariffs on $100 billion worth of imported goods from the United States that will go into effect over the next 3 weeks. Tariffs are paid by the importers of the tariffed products, and the costs are routinely passed on to consumers.
Further context, as we were preparing for the taping of this program, the president doubled down on tariffs on Canadian products, imposing a 50% tax on steel and aluminum. At the same time, he wrote, quote, "Canada must immediately drop their anti-American farmer tariff of 250% to 390% on various U.S. dairy products, which has long been considered outrageous." That particular post was lengthy and outlined other measures the administration could take in protest of Canada's tariffs. Meantime, USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins told C-SPAN she is looking into ways to bring down egg prices and to combat bird flu. She told reporters, quote, "The uncertainty is real and the farmers and our ranchers are concerned. The president has been very clear the tariffs, continue to be an important part of his vision, and we're effectuating that vision." The conversation he had with Justin Trudeau a couple of days ago, where he got very colorful about the 250% tariffs that we're putting on our dairy products, is going to be a little bit bumpy for maybe a few weeks or maybe a few months. But at the end, all Americans will be moving into an era of greater prosperity.
And then, speaking of bird flu, there's the grocery store price hikes. The price check in the egg cooler has garnered constant headlines. For leaders in states where bird flu has forced the culling of millions of egg-laying hens, the rebuild is slow. David Miller reports.
The ripple effect from the ongoing outbreak of highly pathogenic avian influenza continues to put pressure on poultry and dairy producers. Ohio has been suffering the most in recent months, as nearly 25% of its poultry population has been lost to HPAI. In Iowa, the nation's #1 egg-producing state, farmers have been working hard to control the spread of the virus.
Just the experience over the last couple of years has shown us that this is a threat nearly year-round. And that's where producers are having to think about biosecurity strategies around that, that accommodate for that. And we, from a response standpoint, are having to accept the fact that we're essentially in a response mode almost entire year.
The price of eggs has been the most noticeable impact to consumers, as the higher percentage of bird deaths has been among laying hens. Broilers raised for meat have experienced less impact to date. USDA data shows the average wholesale price for eggs went up to $7.34 per dozen last month. While some places have seen retail prices reach $10 per dozen in recent days, the Bureau of Labor Statistics put the nationwide average at $4.95 per dozen. Last year at this time, the average retail price was $2.99 per dozen. According to the Centers for Disease Control, proper preparation of eggs and other poultry products makes them safe to eat. Bird flu has been detected in poultry, dairy cattle, and wild birds in all 50 states. So far, 38 million laying hens and pullets have been euthanized to control the spread of the disease. Since 2022, 30.1 million birds in Iowa have been affected. Wild birds are considered to be the main source for spreading the disease. In Iowa, like the 15 other states where HPAI has been detected in dairy cattle, strict biosecurity protocols are in place. Since December of 2024, there has been an order to test all milk for avian influenza at dairy processing facilities nationwide. In March of last year, USDA began providing funds to dairy producers to create biosecurity plans.
Isn't now the time to ask the questions that maybe we didn't have to ask before, vaccine being one of those? Next level biosecurity investment and research, those are the types of things that I'm anxious to hear from USDA, and I think Secretary Rollins arriving at USDA now officially really is a good thing when it comes to that.
Officials with the CDC also say the number of cases where the disease has passed to humans is now at 68, with 1 death. The federal government has spent more than $1.4 billion fighting the current outbreak, which includes $1.25 billion in indemnity and compensation payments.
You're never going to be made whole, but it is something that allows a farm to get back into production and hopefully weather the storm that they're going through.
An experimental vaccine designed to fight H5N1 circulating in U.S. cattle was successful in protecting mice, according to a new study published in Nature Communications.
It's not a silver bullet, and there are trade implications that we have to think about. But for us, where we've got such a strong egg-laying industry, vaccine really has to be, I think, part of the equation.
The potential use of a bird flu vaccine came up in Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins' recent op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. It's part of her 5-point plan to tackle bird flu and bring down the price of eggs. We'll talk more about that plan next week, but Rollins has committed to providing up to $100 million towards vaccine R&D.
On the lighter side, if you're looking for something in your landscape to attract pollinators, you might try rocking a little purple, or maybe even a little pink. Here's Eddie Smith with a Southern gardening explanation.
There are many great salvias on the market that pollinators love. Let's take a look at a couple of varieties. Rockin Purple is a stunning plant prized for its bold, vibrant blooms and pollinator-friendly nature. It produces deep purple, tubular flowers that grow in dense, upright spikes, reaching up to 2 to 3 feet tall. The flowers are velvety in texture and emerge from nearly black calyxes, creating a striking contrast that enhances their rich color. The blooms are arranged in a whorl pattern along the spikes, adding a dynamic architectural element to gardens. Unplugged Pink salvia features soft pink tubular flowers that grow on sturdy, upright spikes, standing out beautifully against its deep green foliage. The flowers emerge from dark calyxes, creating a striking contrast that enhances their delicate pink hue. Blooming from late spring through fall, these salvias attract hummingbirds, butterflies, and bees, making them a pollinator-friendly choice. The foliage consists of lance-shaped, slightly serrated leaves with a pleasant fragrance when touched. As heat and drought-tolerant plants, both of these plants thrive in full sun and well-drained soil. Blooming continuously from spring through fall, these nectar-rich flowers are magnets for hummingbirds, butterflies, and bees. I'm Eddie Smith, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a break right here, but don't go away. Coming up in our Farm Week feature, we once again do a little time traveling. This story takes us all the way back 25 years. A man they call the Bull-RIDIN Doctor, Clint Green, from just east of Hattiesburg, studied vet med here at Mississippi State, became a veterinarian, and on the weekends rode bulls professionally. Not your typical weekend hobby. The Bull-RIDIN Doctor. See him in action. That's coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith. I believe in my own work and in the opportunity I have to make my life useful to humanity. I believe that education is a lifelong process, and the greatest university is the home. That my success as a teacher is proportional to those qualities of mind and spirit that give me welcome entrance to the homes of the families that I serve. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith. I believed that education, of which extension work is an essential part, is basic in stimulating individual initiative, self-determination, and leadership. I believe that these are the keys to democracy, and that people, when given facts they understand, will act not only in their self-interest, but also in the interest of society. I believe in intellectual freedom to search for and present the truth without bias and with courteous tolerance towards the views of others. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
Time for the market report. Looks like dramatic changes by the day.
That's right, Mike. A commodity will rise one day, then bottom out the next. Things are moving fast in the markets, difficult to make sense of it, and we'll dig into the potential reasons. But first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then several USDA reports giving us an idea of how cattle, sheep, pigs, and chickens stack up inventory-wise from a year ago. And finally, in our row report with tariff talk, price fluctuations, and other factors, what do the professionals have to say? So, markets closed the week still on a downturn. Most commodities down, but some turned around. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, lumber again up $30.50. That's almost a 6% increase from the previous week. Lumber's been rallying a good bit lately. The week's biggest loss, soybean oil, down nearly 1/4 cent. That's a decrease of more than 1.5 points from the previous week. So, livestock prices still in the green for now, and several USDA reports could give us a reason why. In short, they compare U.S. and Canadian livestocks, giving us insight into how things stack up compared to last year.
In the United States and Canadian cattle and sheep report, U.S. cattle inventory down 1%. We've heard that before. However, Canadian cattle inventory also down 1%. Both countries combined amount to about 97.5 million head. Last year it was about 98 million head. So how does that break down? The U.S. contributes the majority at about 88 million head, while Canada has about 11 million head. Sheep is a slightly different story. The U.S.-Canadian combined inventory up slightly. Last year it was 5.85 million head. Now it's 5.86 million head. That breaks down to the U.S. contributing 5.05 million head, while Canada has actually lost inventory, contributing about 806,000 head, down 2% from last year. The United States and Canadian hogs report looks similar to the sheep report. All hogs and pigs from the two countries about 90 million head, which is up 1% from last year. However, breeding inventory is down slightly. How does that add up? The U.S. inventory about 76 million head, up 1% from last year, while Canada about 14 million head, down 1%. In the U.S. broiler hatchery report, we're seeing some comeback for the industry. Broiler chicken eggs set in incubators, that is, being hatched to add to the national flock, up 3% from last year, and average hatchability is about 79%. In addition, broiler-type chicks placed in brooders to help them grow amounted to about 191 million, up 2% from last year.
In our row report, a lot unfolding within the markets these past few weeks, and more to come with ongoing trade discussions. Analyst Sean Hackett says, don't base your trades on headlines, and talks about what's moving row crops.
I really don't believe reacting to these headline risks are the way to market your grain crop. We believe, if you look at the first President Trump's presidency, we had a lot of these back and forth headline risk actions. And what you want to do is be proactive when they get excited about what he says, and get excited when he, to the downside, if you're a livestock producer needing to buy corn. We just had some very good cash selling opportunities a month ago. Now we're getting some good buy side opportunities for the end user. I would use the headline risk as being proactive instead of the other way around. Fear is everywhere right now. But also remember, fear gets priced into the markets very quickly, and then we move on to something else. When I look at the calendar, I see the planting season right in front of us. So what we're talking about with tariffs is demand side fears. What we need to be also balancing that with is supply side fears as we move into the planting season and into the growing season. We think that's going to take center stage here before too long. What I think moves the dial on price is the planting season. We think we could have a very cold, wintry spring, something I know everyone does not want to hear, and we could be looking at a late spring frost. All our indicators say that we have some of the best probabilities for that happening this planting season in a very, very long time. This time of the year, with Brazil harvesting their crop, they always buy less from us this time of the year because Brazil has all kinds of soybeans to sell. So this would be a time that they wouldn't be necessarily buying a lot from us. I would not expect them to be buying a lot from us, not because of tariffs, just because the nature of the beast. Brazil has the supply, and that's going to be your lowest, most economical price right now to buy. I think what could drive the soybean market is a bullish planting intentions report we might get at the end of March, where we could be looking at less intention to plant soybeans versus corn. That could be a trigger that maybe brings some short covering into the market and an opportunity to see a higher price. The economy is very, very important. We have a lot of fear over the U.S. economy and the global economy going into recession. The GDP now from the Atlanta Fed showed a minus 1.5 number potentially for the first quarter here. And then you throw the tariffs on there and lack of Chinese demand, and it's just struggling looking for demand. Having said that, we are expected to plant the lowest amount of cotton acres in the U.S. in 10 years. Any weather issues in western Texas that increases abandonment of that crop, and the supply side could take hold here. And if we have any interest or any change in the demand side picture at all to the positive, we could have a mismatch.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets. Prices rising and falling quickly. Looks like that may continue for some time. Mike?
Thanks, Zach. Well, up next, a fun little encore, and it takes us back a couple of dozen years. A man who combined 2 different careers into one unique lifestyle. Former Farm Week anchor Artis Ford produced the story back in 2000, and introducing it is my former co-anchor, Leighton Spann.
In tonight's feature segment, you'll meet a South Mississippi man with 2 careers. One is not unusual, the second is more distinctive. Clint Green of Richton is a veterinarian, but he's also a professional bull rider. Farm Week's Artis Ford reports on the bull riding doctor.
When you're riding at the top of your game, you're not riding for 8 seconds, really. You're just, you're there for the ride itself. You're just having fun for the ride. And when the whistle blows, it's a surprise to you and a disappointment.
Clint Green's definition of a good day at the office is when you complete an 8-second ride on a bull doing his best to throw you off. The 36-year-old from Richton, Mississippi has been a regular on the Professional Bull Riders Tour since 1998. The same hands that try to hold on to 1,500 pounds of bucking bull also treat animals. Green is a 1996 graduate of veterinary medicine at Mississippi State University. Green says he didn't have plans to become a veterinarian when he went to college in 1989.
And just kind of fell into it backwards. It looked like a good way to make a living in the cattle industry and, you know, stay in the cattle business but still make a living in it.
Green says his 2 careers complement each other at this point. He works as a relief veterinarian for Petal Animal Health Services in Petal, and he's also a supervisor of food safety inspectors for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It keeps his weekends free to pursue his love of bull riding. In 1982, Green was the Mississippi High School all-around rodeo champion. He's qualified twice for the PBR World Championship. Bull riding is never far from his mind.
I rodeo pretty hard the whole time I was in vet school. When I first got into school, I took some time off. I thought I needed to concentrate on my school, but it was really a pressure relief to be able to go and on the weekends and ride bulls.
Kathy Green, Clint's wife, says they acknowledge the danger of bull riding. He is one of the few riders who wears a face mask while competing. The Greens, however, don't let the danger keep them from enjoying the sport.
I kind of had some back-to-back concussions. And like I say, I got some pretty good cuts on my face and was knocked out and spent some time in the hospital. So it was just, I figured it was time to use everything that's out there, you know, and I went to wearing one then.
I would say that life is short and you never know what's out there for you. And if you live your life cautiously, then you're not living your life the way that God meant you to.
World champion from Walnut Bend, Texas,
with fireworks, lights, and loud music, the beginning of a professional bull riders event can resemble a concert. The PBR is owned and operated by bull riders. 20 of the sport's top riders formed the PBR in 1992. A television contract with the TNN cable channel has given the sport exposure, and it's caused it to grow dramatically in recent years. 29 riders won more than $50,000 in 1999. The tour's top money winner took home almost $400,000.
They had a simple plan, take the world's best bull riders and the world's rankest bulls and put them together for a match. And they brought in all kinds of big sponsors and brought TNN for the telecast and put it on TV, and boy, the fans just watched it and loved it.
26-year-old Lonnie Steverson of New Hebron is one of the Mississippians on the PBR Tour. He's qualified several times for the World Championship Finals. Bart Jackson of Greenwood, Mississippi went to the finals in his rookie year in 1999.
I'm glad to see Mississippi finally, get some respect for, rodeo. A lot of people say Texas and Oklahoma is more of your cowboy, and I think they're exposed to it a little more than Mississippi, but there's a lot of great cowboys that come from Mississippi.
In a unique twist, some of the bulls on the PBR Tour are better known than the riders. With names like Jim Jam and Eraser, the animals have fans of their own. To receive a score, a rider must stay on the bull for 8 seconds. Two judges then score the ride with the rider and the bull, each earning individual points for their performances. This night in Jackson, Mississippi, Green finished 11th in the first round, just missing advancing to the final round.
How good your bull bucks, you know, whether he spins or not, how high he kicks, how much action he has, just how hard he tries to buck you off. And that's 99% of it. Your job is just to stay on, make the whistle.
Kathy Green says it will be up to Clint to decide when it's time to stop bull riding. At 36, he's older than most of the competitors, who are usually in their 20s. Green says he'll stop riding when it's no longer a pleasure.
I'm kind of one of the senior citizens of the tour, but I feel good, so I'm just going to keep doing it as long as I'm having fun.
From Jackson, Mississippi, I'm Artis Ford reporting.
Bull riding and doctoring, quite a combination. My brother rode bulls for a while when he was younger, got banged up pretty good. Well, next week at long last, this year's Dixie National Sale of Junior Champions.
It's a big story, and this year the numbers were bigger than ever. More than $500,000 raised in the sale. You'll also meet a hardworking young lady bound for greatness.
And to top it all off, say goodbye to auctioneer Jackie Corson, retiring after 30 years of helping youth raise millions of dollars. The 2025 Dixie National next time on Farm Week.
Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.